Hello, my name's David Shepherd. Now, for some of you, you may already know me. For others of you, my name may be new. Either way, you're probably wondering, how does this guy called David Shepherd suddenly appear in my inbox? So let me explain. I was having coffee last week with a very good dear friend of mine, Jemma, who you probably know from her days with solar events. And she was saying to me, you know, I really haven't been in contact with people, this is you, on my list. And I really want to get back in contact with them again and tell them about the new things that I'm doing now. But it's been so long, you know, I feel like I really want to give them something, give them a gift by way of a forgive me for not being in contact for so long. And she said, but I just don't know what I can give them, what would be of value to the people on my list at this particular point in time. So, you know, we were brainstorming some different ideas, and she said, you know, could you do something exclusively for people in my list? And I said, yeah, definitely. What would you like me to do? And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a master trainer of NLP, I'm a master trainer of hypnosis, I'm a master trainer of timeline therapy, and also a Kumu in a lineage that goes back 29 generations in Hawaiian Huna. So, you know, I said to Jemma, I can actually talk for around about 10, 12 weeks, maybe more, without repeating myself. So, you know, what do you want me to do in 15, 20 minutes that would be of value? So, you know, we got to thinking about it, and we were just talking about the kind of conversations that we're both hearing around us and from our friends, both on this side of the Atlantic in the UK, but also our friends on the other side of the Atlantic in the US. And we're both having a very similar experience in that, you know, the conversations here in the UK and in Europe are very much around Brexit, you know, and the fact that it all seems to be getting a little bit stale at this point in time, and nothing seems to be happening, and will it happen, will it not happen, and what will happen if it does, what will happen if it doesn't. And then, you know, for friends in the US, there's a lot of concerns, a lot of worries about Trump. You know, there's the whole thing about the US government shutdown at this point in time, which is creating lots of concerns and lots of uncertainty. So, and I was talking about a friend of mine who came to see us over Christmas, and he's very goal-driven, he's very goal-oriented, but he asked me a question, quite a personal question to be honest, where he said, David, you know, I always set goals, you know, at this time of year between Christmas and New Year, but he said, I find out I can't do it, you know. He said, I want to ask you a question, how do you set goals during times of extreme uncertainty? He even said, do you set goals under times of extreme uncertainty? And so what I wanted to do, and Jemma said that she was having a similar kind of experience. So she said, well, could you share with people your ideas about that? You know, how do we not only survive in times of uncertainty, but also thrive in times of uncertainty? What do we need to do that? Well, let's just talk about the uncertainty thing first. You know, I've already mentioned it. We've got Brexit here in the UK, which is obviously creating a great amount of concern, a lot of worry, a lot of uncertainty for people who live in the UK, but also it's creating concern for people in Europe as to the impact of the UK doing Brexit out of the EU. As I say, you know, there's uncertainty in the US with Trump, the government shut down, all of these kind of things. And though, you know, wherever you go in the world, there is uncertainty. The other thing that I think everywhere around the world, there is a concern and a worry as to whether, you know, what's going to happen with the finances, what's going to happen with the economy in the UK and the rest of the world. And so I looked at that, you know, because people have been asking me that question, and I looked at the economy. We know that it goes through cycles. You know, that's one of the laws of the universe, the law of cycles. We know it goes through cycles, and you know, I looked at those cycles since they started recording the cycles, which started in the early 1900s. And when at university, I studied electronics, so I tend to look at things from an electronics engineer point of view. So I'm very used to cycles and all of those kind of things. And this is what I found. I just want to share this with you. Is that when these cycles first started, they were very small, but they were very close. But then over time, what's happened is the cycles have got bigger in amplitude, but lower in frequency. So what does that mean? What it means is that, the highs and the lows in comparison are getting lower and the highs are getting higher. But the amount of time in between each of the cycles, each time between a high and a low, is getting longer. So here it was a matter of 2 or 3 years between a high and a low, whereas this one that we're currently in has been like 10 years from here to here. So what do we know just looking at the cycle, following the trend, is that we've got to say that we're somewhere around here. We don't know if we're at the top of the cycle or not at this point in time. And though sooner or later, whether it's this year, whether it's next year, we're going to go into one of these lows, and it will be, if the trend follows on, it will be one of the deepest lows in comparison to the high that we're at the moment that we've probably ever experienced. So, that's not an uncertainty. If we looked at how this works, that's a certainty. Also, people are concerned about the house prices here in the UK. There already seems to be a little bit of a turn as far as that's concerned. Maybe it's actually bigger than we're being led to believe at the moment. And when this kind of thing happens, you'll see that no matter where you are in the world, you'll see a drop in property prices. So on the surface, it appears there's lots and lots of reasons to be worried, to be concerned, and to maybe batten down the hatches and wait for normal service to be resumed, which is what a lot of people do. But listen to the words that also that people talk about this. They talk about this as being a crash, a recession, depression. There's lots of doom and gloom, and very negative thinking about those kind of things. Whereas, if we looked at things from a historical perspective, in actual fact, some of the biggest fortunes in the world were made during that part of the cycle. Yeah, not this part, but during that part. Why could that be? Well, one of the reasons could be that when this happens, the vast majority of people batten down the hatches and they stick their head in the sand and they wait for things to turn around and things to change. So whereas when this is happening, when we're in a boom, or what we call a bull market rather than a bear market, then everybody's going in and seizing the opportunity. So you have a lot of competition. Whereas here, very, very few people are going out there putting themselves forward. Like that friend of mine, when they think this is going to happen, they even might stop setting goals until this thing happens. So rather than doom and gloom, rather than pessimism, rather than just going, okay, how do we survive? How do we ride out the storm? Then what I want to share with you today is no matter what you're doing right at this particular point in time, then what we actually have the opportunity to do right now, not even waiting for this to happen, right now, we actually have a major opportunity to thrive rather than just survive. And that's what I want to share with you today. How can we go about doing that? And the big shift comes in here. It comes in changing our mindset. See, the people who are concerned or worried about Brexit or about Trump or about the economy, the house prices, all of those kind of things. If we were to look at them on this particular model here, then they're in a particular place. Now, this is a particular law that appears to be a law of the way the universe works. It's the law of cause and effect. Many of you may have heard of the law of attraction, made very, very popular, made very famous almost by the book The Secret and the movie The Secret. And, the law of attraction is just one of seven laws in total. And, they took the law of attraction in isolation, but missed out the other 6. So, I've had a lot of people who say, well, the law of attraction just doesn't work for me. Well, it was never meant to be used in isolation. It was meant to be used along with these other 6 laws. And one of those laws is the law of cause and effect. Now, what the law of cause and effect says is that in the universe, you don't just get random effects. You don't just get things happening randomly. There is always a cause for every effect. In fact, the police force in the UK here have realized this, They changed their language. They no longer refer to road traffic accidents. They refer to road traffic incidents, because they say there's no such thing as an accident. There's no such thing as a road traffic accident, because there is always a cause. And it's just a matter of finding that cause. So it's a law of the universe. Now, these people who say, and I've actually heard people say this, Brexit is ruining my life. Trump being president has destroyed my business. In the past, I've heard people say, my business went bust because of the recession, the depression, etc., etc., etc. My property business in buy-to-let has been completely destroyed in the UK by the government changing the tax laws in property investment, buy-to-let. Okay, so when you hear that kind of language, which side of the cause and effect equation are those people on? Well, they're over here. They're over on the effect side of the equation. In fact, what they've done, no, they're not actually aware of this consciously. What they've done is put Brexit on the cause side of the equation for their life. They've made Brexit the creator of their life. They've put Trump on the cause side of their life. They've put Trump as the creator in their mind of their life. They've put the recession, the depression, the change in tax laws as the cause side of their business. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't feel good about that. I want to be at the cause side in my life. I want to be at the cause side in my business. Yeah. So this is the first thing to get, is to really make sure that in our life in general, in our mind, and this is only where it is, in our mind, we put ourselves over here. Now, that's an easy concept, but it's easier said than done. So how do you actually do that? Well, when you're experiencing an effect that isn't the way that you want it, rather than looking for what's to blame outside here, because you'll always find something to blame, by the way. You'll always find somebody to blame. You'll always find something to blame for things not going your way. And, you get to pat yourself on the back for being right, but you still haven't got what you want. So how do we put ourselves over here? Well, we ask ourselves a number of questions. Questions we ask ourselves is, okay, so how did I cause this? How did I create this? What is there for me to learn from this? And what do I want to do differently next time so that next time I do it, I'll get the result that I want? Yeah. And whenever you ask yourself those kind of questions, you will always get answers. Then is to pay attention to the answers and take action on the answers. Okay? Because another way of thinking about this is that in life, we either get the results we want or we have reasons for not getting the results that we want. And it's black and white. If you don't get the results you want, there are reasons. Yeah? If you have no reasons for not getting the results you want, then you'll always get the results that you want. Now, the majority of people believe that these things here are real and true. And it's a trap. If you believe that these reasons are real and true, then you will never get the result that you want. Never. It's impossible. So the first step is to realize in actual fact that these aren't real, they aren't true. And by asking yourself those questions and putting yourself over here, then what you effectively do is you begin to get rid of those. Because as soon as you've eradicated all the reasons, you're left with one thing, which is the results that you want. And the only thing that these both sides of this equation here have in common is you get to prove yourself right. You know, I remember it was probably now about 15, no, maybe more years than that. I was approached by Microsoft and they wanted me to run an event for them. They were doing a roadshow going out to all of their value-added resellers and value-added retailers. And they were doing a roadshow for them, a free event where they could learn about new Microsoft products and all those kind of things. And the person who called me said, you know, we'd like you to open up the event. We'd like you to motivate them. We'd like you to fire them up. And we'd like you to teach them some NLP, some neuro-linguistic programming, so that they could sell more Microsoft products, right? And I said, okay, great. A couple of questions for you. How long have I got? And they said 30 minutes. I went, okay, what am I going to do with the other 15 minutes, right? And I said, and will these people know that I'm going to be opening the event and know what I do? And they went, no, they're not interested in you. They're just interested in the Microsoft products. So anyway, I agreed to it. We agreed my fee and everything was arranged and the date for the first one was in the diary. And I put the phone down and I noticed my hands were shaking. And I thought and I felt nervous, you know, and I thought this is quite intriguing because, you know, I'd already been a public speaker, I'd already been a trainer at this point in time for probably about 6 or 7 years roughly. And so I was used to it, you know, I dealt with my stage fright and dealt with my nerves, all of that kind of stuff. So why was I so nervous about this? And when I thought about it, an answer came into my mind, and it was this. You are not at your best in front of a large audience for a short period of time who didn't come specifically to see you. Well, think about it. What did I have in this particular situation? I got a large audience. They said it was going to be 250 people. I've got them for 30 minutes. They don't know me. They don't even know that they're coming to see me. They're not even interested in what I've got to talk about. It fitted the brief perfectly. Now, at that point in time, I had a choice. I could stick with that. I could show up at Microsoft University in Reading, which is where the first event was, with my whole mindset of I'm not great with a large audience for a short period of time who didn't come specifically to see me. And what do you think would happen? Yeah, right. Technical term in the world of speaking and presenting here in the UK, I'd have died on my arse, right? Now, I could have done that. It would have gone terribly badly, and I'd have walked off the stage, patting myself on the back, going, you see, I told you I was no good with a large audience that I got for a short period of time that didn't come specifically for me. I should never have taken the gig. Or I had another choice. Put myself on the core side of the equation, use what I know, use what I learned at this point in time in my NLP, my timeline therapy, my HUNA hypnosis toolbox to get rid of these reasons because they're just limiting beliefs. And what actually happened was that I showed up at Microsoft University and I opened the event. I was on for 30 minutes and, I blew the doors off the place. I'd taken one of my members of my team with me to sit in the audience. She ran up to me at the end of it, went like, "Wow, that was amazing. That was the best I've ever seen you do." To which my answer was, "What did I do?" It was one of those moments, where you're either in the flow or the zone, and you just, when you finished it, you go, I can't remember what happened, yeah? But I blew the doors off, and as a result, Microsoft hired me to go on an entire road show of the UK to do the same thing, yeah? So I got rid of my reasons, I got my results. So that's the kind of thinking that you've got to have if we're going to thrive rather than survive in the next 12 months and maybe beyond that. What we've got to do is move ourselves from here to here. Now, here's where, no matter what you do for a living, whether you're in a job, whether you run your own business, this actually gives you a competitive advantage. It gives you a competitive advantage in your job, in your career, and in your business. Here's why. The vast majority of people are over here. They don't know this stuff I'm sharing with you, and they're going to stay there. You, however, should you choose to do what I'm talking about, will be over here. That is the biggest advantage in life you could ever have. There's an esoteric writer in the 17th century called Jacob Boehme. And one of the things that Boehme said in one of his books was this: if you want to have success in life, look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. He said, because the majority of people, if they're really honest, are not living the life of their dreams. So in actual fact, they're showing you exactly how to not live the life of your dreams. Flipping that over, what they're showing you is how not to do it. So the best starting place, if you want to live the life of your dreams, is to look at what everybody else is doing and do the opposite. Now, what everybody else is doing is they're over here. Do the opposite, we're over here. We're at the core side of the equation. Now, let's take that mindset and then bring it down into some real tangible behaviors, things that we can actually do to put this into practice. And these are the 5 laws or the 5 results, laws or the 5 principles of success, for want of a better word. The first is know your outcome, or what we might call in personal development or NLP, have goals. So I said to this friend of mine, yeah, absolutely, have goals. Whether there's uncertainty or not, have goals. Yeah, you've got to give your unconscious mind something to search for. Your neurology is designed for one thing. Your neurology is designed to create in your experience what you pay attention to. There's a great example of this. I don't know if any of you have ever been on an advanced driving course where they put you in a car on a skid pan. And you're on the skid pan, the driver presses the button, the car goes out of control. Technically now the car is out of control, it's in a skid. What most people do at this point in time, when they believe the car's out of control, is they look around for what they don't want to hit. So let's say there's a tree there, and they're going, I don't want to hit the tree. The out of control car amazingly slides towards the tree and hits it. Once you're trained what to do in those situations, they train you to put your attention where you want the car to go. So again, the car is technically out of control, it's in a skid. You pay attention to the space, the gap between 2 trees. And as if by magic, the car skids out of control right between the 2 trees. That's what our nervous system is designed for. So if we pay attention 2, everything being chaos as a result of Brexit or Trump or the economy dropping in another cycle, house prices dropping. And we think everything's going to go to hell in a handbasket as a result of what's happened. Our nervous system will enable us to find and justify that thinking. Whereas when we have a goal and we go, okay, regardless of what's going on around me, regardless of what everybody else is experiencing, this is where I'm going, then our nervous system is actually designed to find the way. Actually designed to find the way to get us that, okay? So we've got to give our nervous system, we've got to give what we might call our unconscious mind a target, a destination. Now, important thing at this point in time is it's a destination. You don't need to know the route. In fact, to start thinking about the route would be the worst thing you could possibly do. So when you know your outcome, there's 2 questions that you want to be answering. What do I want and when? You know, I was with a client, a coaching client, earlier this week, and she said, well, you know, what I want is I want £10,000 net per month. I go, great, fantastic. When do you want that? I don't really care, I just know that it will come. And you know, she was a little bit shocked because I said, it'll never happen. It will never happen at all. She goes, no, I know it will. I said, it'll never happen. No, he said, I've asked the universe. I know it will come. I said, yeah, it will always come. You know, you say, you know, you can achieve anything from the universe. She goes, I know it can. The universe is abundant. I know that I can have whatever I want from the universe. I said, yeah, okay, so you're asking the universe for £10,000 net per month. But the universe needs to know when you want it. Otherwise, it will never deliver. So there's 2 questions. What specifically do you want and when? Now, the second thing, once you've got that goal, is take action. Now, I know the book The Secret, which I think probably many of you have come across, and also the movie, said that all you needed to do is to meditate on your goals and the universe would deliver. My experience is that that isn't the case. We need to take physical action. In fact, a friend of mine, Eric Edmeades, was there when they were filming The Secret. And, you know, they had all these gurus there, you know, they had Joe Vitale, the Deepak Chopra, Bob Proctor, a friend of mine, Marie Diamond, you know, these various gurus of personal development. And all of them said how important it was to take action. The producers of that movie, for whatever reason, decided to edit that bit out of each of their segments because they believed the movie would sell more if people believed that they could achieve whatever they wanted by doing nothing other than meditating and focusing on their goal, and that the universe is an ATM. Didn't really do people a big service because, you know, it's not actually the way that it is. It's not even the way that any of those gurus actually said that it was, in fact. Yep. So we need to take action, massive action. Do everything possible to achieve your goals. Why? Because until you've taken the action, you don't know which one of those actions is going to work. You don't know which one of those actions is going to produce the result. Which is why this thing here, have sensory awareness, is important. Because if you take an action and it doesn't work, it doesn't create the desired result, majority of people, not the people like us, the majority of people go, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew it wouldn't work in a recession. I knew it wouldn't work if we had Brexit. I knew it wouldn't work if we had Remain, you know, whatever. It wouldn't work with Trump as president. And they walk away, you know, accepting the failure and pat themselves on the back. Whereas now what we would do is go, okay, so how did I create that not working? What is there for me to learn from this? What can I do differently next time that will enable me to get the result that I want next time? You'll get answers to that. And off we go again. Now this is just reminding me here, this goal here, it's just reminding me of something. I was teaching this kind of material a number of years ago at Aston University for the final year, you know, the people who were just coming up for their graduation. And I was teaching this because obviously they're looking for jobs. And at the time, this is a while ago, at the time, you know, I had somebody put their hand up and said, oh, you know, this is all well and good, David, about this cause and effect and stuff and about having goals, but do you know how many jobs there are for graduates in the UK this year? And I said, no, I haven't. He said, well, there's 20,000. I said, oh, great, that's fantastic. And he said, do you know how many graduates there are going for those 20,000 jobs? And I said, no, but I've got a feeling I'm going to find out. And he said, there are 30,000. I said, oh, cool, great. He said, so, you know, what's the point of setting goals? You know, this whole thing about cause and effect, you know, there's 30,000 people going for 20,000 jobs. How can it work? I said, well, you know, do you want to be one of the 20,000 people with a job, or do you want to be one of the 10,000 who hasn't got a job? That's the choice you've got to make. What are you going to focus on? You're going to focus on getting one of the 20,000 jobs, or you're going to focus on the 10,000 job, not getting one of the 10,000 jobs that doesn't exist. That's an important distinction with this. Now, 4, use behavioral flexibility. What does that mean? Do things differently. You know, the world is changing at a dramatic rate. It's accelerating, the change is accelerating, yeah. And it's only going to accelerate even more. Here in the UK, we're seeing that with the high street. And, you know, high street stores that have been around my entire life are disappearing. And, you know, I hear people going like, well, they've always been there. Well, they're usually open. You've really got to remove from your mind, remove from your language words like always and usually, because that doesn't exist anymore. Now, why are these places going bust and disappearing? Because they haven't been flexible. They haven't embraced the change. You know, a big controversial one here, particularly in London, was with Uber. You know, you got black cabs, you know, and then Uber came along. And the first time I went with an Uber, which is probably about, you know, 5 or 6 years ago when they first came to London, and I remember very clearly it was my birthday. I was taking my mum to a restaurant in the West End for a birthday celebration, and, you know, we'd normally have gone in a cab, but we went in an Uber, and it was a very, very nice car, and it took us to the restaurant in the West End, and, you know, in Mayfair, and it was half the price it would have cost in a black cab. And I thought, you know, that's interesting. And, you know, what's happened is that the black cabs, you know, the black cabs complained about it. You know, this is bad, this is awful, they shouldn't be allowed to do this. But Uber, you know, took on technology. Is Amazon having a direct effect on, you know, the high street? Yeah, it is, and they've embraced technology. So, you know, if we want to be in a different place than the black cab drivers, if we want to be in a different place than the shops that have always been in the high street, we need to be flexible. We need to do things in ways that we've never done them before. You know, another writer, I'm an avid reader, and another writer which I love is an American futurist by the name of Eric Hoffer. And one of the things that Eric Hoffer says, he says, in times of extreme change, are we in times of extreme change? Yes, I think we are. In times of extreme change, the learners will inherit the earth. The learned will discover how to live in a world that no longer exists. Now, if you've listened to this video so far, I know you're in the former group. You're a learner. Because you could be doing something else, you could be watching something on TV, you could be, down the pub, whatever, whatever it may be. But you're not, you're watching this video. So you're into learning. So you're one of the learned, which means learners like us will inherit the earth. But it doesn't mean we've got to be willing to do things that we've never done before. The world is changing. The old ways aren't working. The old ways will never work. We need to keep up with what's happening. But with this, the opportunities are massive. For the first time in human history, you can have your own publishing company, you can have your own radio station, you can have your own news channel, and you can have your own TV station, your own TV channel for nothing. And if you were to start right now, you'd have it done before the end of the evening. That is a massive opportunity that we all need to grab a hold of and make work for us. So this is, again, it comes back to what is there for me to learn and what can I do differently next time that will which will enable me to get the result I want. Then number 5, operate from a physiology and a psychology of excellence. Well, the physiology of excellence means, let's just think about it. There's a number of, things we could go into, which would be more than we've got time for in this video. It's about our body, how we move, how we sit, how we stand. There's a way of standing, of sitting and moving that makes you feel good. If there's just one thing, change your breathing. Stress is short, shallow breathing in the top of your chest, whereas relaxation and power is breathing from the diaphragm slowly. Just that will change the whole way that you feel, the whole state that you're in. But it also means, look after your body. Eat well, exercise, the kind of stuff, sleep well. Very basics. Then the psychology of excellence, I've already given you. That being over this side of the equation is the psychology of excellence. Being over this side of the equation is in actual fact not even, you could think of it as being the psychology of mediocrity. Am I interested in that? No. Are you interested in that? If you're watching this video still, you're not. I know you're not. Psychology of mediocrity at best, mediocrity of failure at worst. Yeah. Psychology of excellence, put yourself over this side of the equation and go, okay, so that didn't work. So what am I going to do differently next time? No matter what your goal, no matter what your aim is, no matter what your destination is that you've chosen, it's possible. You can get there. It's just a matter of finding the way. And, my biggest experience is that it doesn't matter where you've been in the past. It doesn't matter where you are right now in your life, in your business, in your career, in your health, in your relationships, in your family relationships, anything. The only thing that matters is where do you want to be and what are you willing to do about it. I hope this has been useful for you, and I hope to meet you again sometime along the path of personal development and personal transformation and personal success. Thank you for joining me. My name's David Shepherd, and have a great day.